So in this video, I'm going to show you how we level out ceilings or fill out ceilings nice and flat with a back coat plaster. We turned up to this job, we didn't do the plasterboarding, we've turned up and we've been asked just to skim the ceiling, but there's a section of the ceiling where the joist was really high and it's caused a big hollow in the ceiling. So instead of packing the joist down, for some reason, I don't know why, but they've asked us if we can level it out with some back coat plaster. So that's what we've done. I thought it'd be a nice little introduction for you, a nice little gentle start into the videos that we're going to start doing on floating when we get down to doing screeds and sand and cement. But this is just a nice little basic introduction showing you the different tools that I'll be using and bits and bobs. So we'll just get straight into it anyway. So this painted section of the ceiling has been sealed with SBR. Kieran's mixing up some bonding and we'll get started. So this is what we're getting rid of. This. If you can't see that, it's about 1.5 inch gap. Now, it highlights it. You can see that deviation very well because you can see the joint on the boards. When this is skimmed, there's a good chance you probably wouldn't really even notice that. I'm not saying that's okay, I'm just saying as long as the ceiling lines are straight around the edge of the room, you don't really notice how out of shape the centres of the ceilings are. But the customer has asked specifically if we can come in and fix this for him, so we're going to level this part of the ceiling off. We're not level it, we're going to flatten it off. We're not going to screed the whole ceiling, we're just going to flatten this section out. First of all, fill your screws out. Because you're building out, the last thing you want is a scrim to drop on you. Bonding is a little bit thick for doing this, but this is the sort of stuff we have to put up with Kieran. He's a good lad really, in small doses. Now talking to Kieran, if we get a bit of time towards the end of the video and we can fit it in, I did take some footage of Kieran plastering, so we'll stick that in there as well if we've got time. I give him a few little hints and tips as he was skimming, which you might benefit from. And I'll also show you me skimming over this bonding section as well. Not the whole process because it just takes too long, but just a little bit for the few hints and tips for you. We'll start on this end here. Start building down. I don't know if you can see the camera, but I can sort of see where the hollow is, so I'm just going to work methodically from one end of the hollow to the next, build it out and just Darby it in as we go. You can use a bevel edge, but you'll drop less stuff with a Darby because you can hold the stuff with it better. Always try and pull your gear into the stuff. What I mean by that is, I wouldn't go in and go this way. I'm going to go here and pull it in this way, into the stuff. So at this stage, you're not trying to put it on too neat. You're just getting it on. And the thickness of it, you know, it won't so much need a scratch coat, you'll be able to just get it on in one coat. But if this was over something that was dry, like it's a low suction background plasterboard, so we can sort of just go straight over it with bonding. But if this was a bit more higher suction background, you definitely put a bit of a scratch coat on first, just to cool the suction off. Now I'm using just a smooth Darby. You can get these serrated if you wanted to give it a key, but you don't really need to key bonding. You do see fellas rubbing bonding up with a devil float. The idea of the float is it gets it nice and flat, and the little devil part of it, you know, the little horns, like on a devil's head, the little nails or the screws, there to give it a key. But that sort of transferred over from sand and cement and lime plastering in them days. What you'll find is that finish, gypsum-based finish will fit straight off of a bonding without needing a key. It'll just stick to it anyway. So I mean, you can devil float it if you really want to, but trying to time that perfect so that the stuff doesn't stick to your float and it hasn't set is very difficult. It's possible, but it's not really necessary as long as you get it flat, you know. Now, this is the thing with the Darby. See, if I had a feather edge now, I'd have all this gear on here and I wouldn't be able to do anything with it. But because it's got handles on the Darby, you can just plaster it back on again. You know, put it out the way, go back to where you're working and carry on. What you'll see when you do it at the Darby, come round here, what you'll start to notice is straight away, you'll see the hollows where you need more stuff, so like here. So, you know, put it all over first at the Darby, what you put on. Yeah, and then, like that there's no hollows in it, but there is. So I'm going to chuck some more stuff on there and roll it off again. Again, go both ways. Now we know it's pretty flat this way anyway, but still, just good practice, give it a go both ways. Now, can you see a bit of writing on the ceiling there? It says, "You're going to need a bit of bonding here, Kirk." That's the window fitters looking after me in case I didn't notice where the bonding had to go. Next time I see a hole in a wall, I'm going to write on the wall, "Going to need a window here, lads." Keep building it on. You always put it on thicker and then rolling it back. Can you hear that bit of water in the background? That's Kieran taking a leak. He was busting for a wee. Always keep just washing your Darby off a little bit. If you let too much build up get on it, it gets sticky. This is quite a sticky product. And if you let it too sticky, it'll start dragging off what you've already put on. So just keep it sort of wet, but not too wet because you don't want the stuff to be falling off, so you don't want it absolutely soaked all the time. Here on, beauty of your Darby, you can just plaster it back on. Ah, there he is. You thought he was pissing like a racehorse. He's just filling his water buckets up. It's the outside tap you can hear. Remember, go into the stuff, not pull away from it. You'll drop far less. So into it. Now, hold your hand as well. Don't go too far before you hit the Darby because it starts to pick up a little bit to drag and tear, and you end up with loads and loads of gear spin off the edge of your feather edge or your Darby. So just, go about 2 foot. Rule it off. It's about 2 foot, rule it off. And what you essentially start to do is use what you've already ruled off as a bit of a screed, a bit of a working level, so you can come across it as well. So, different fellas do it different ways. You might want to put the whole ceiling on and then start ruling it. It's a bit of a different system. You're going to float the whole ceiling. We're just basically just filling out a hollow, so I'm actually using each side of the hollow where it comes down as a screed to rule off. I'm sort of pressing the Darby up to that. So it's a bit of a sort of different system. Ooh. Wet SPR. That's going to smooth down a little bit. So this job's on a Sunday and we're trying to get it done as quickly as possible. The SBR hadn't even had a chance to go tacky when we hit this bit, so I've just had to leave that section for a little bit, let the SBR go off a bit, and then we carried on with the bonding. We literally had to just leave it for about 5 minutes before the SBR picked up a bit more. I'm pushing up on the side that's up to the ceiling, and I'm pushing up on this side and over this side. So just in case you don't know, when you form a screed, you're making a level band of plaster that's sort of firmed up that you can rule off. Now I can pretty much span this part of the ceiling with the Darby, so I don't need to form screeds. I could just rule off the ceiling and actually use the ceiling as a screed. So let's just expand on it a little bit more now. Bonding's on, and we've ruled it off of the Darby. Now in other videos I've gone more into this, so I'll just quickly recap in case you haven't seen them. The Darby's fine, you can use it, it's wonderful for doing this sort of work. If it had to be absolutely perfect where millimetres mattered, then use a feather edge instead, or a rule. It doesn't have to be a feather edge rule, but feather edges get into the corners tighter. That's the whole point of the edge of it being chamfered off. Now, a lot of fellas now, we want to hit this with a devil float, which is just like a polyurethane float for rubbing up, and it's got screws either across the top of it, you know, sticking out here, or one in each four corners, or some people just have one, I don't know what they've got. But anyway, there's all different types of devil floats. And the idea of the devil float is you rub it, and any high spots you take them down, and then you can see any little hollows and fill them in, and also the little screws are leaving you the key. Now, that's wonderful for sand and cement, and you can use it for hardwall, bonding. I mean, you can't get brown and soft coats anymore, but if you did, you could use it for that. But you don't have to. Now, there's a big difference between bonding and sand and cement, in that sand and cement sort of sets from the surface backwards. That's why sometimes you can be rubbing sand and cement up and it'll start sliding on your scratch coat. Bonding's different, it sets from the back to the front. So on this now, the surface of it is still sort of wet, but it's actually hard behind it. Yeah, remember before, this was all that thick, and my finger won't, I'm pushing, my finger won't go into it, but the top of it's still got a bit of slime on it, but it's like slimy sort of wet plaster. Now, if I was going to use a devil float, now is the opportunity to do it, right? But I'm not going to, because I know that finishing plaster sticks to bonding, it doesn't need a key. Finishing plaster won't stick to sand and cement, it will need a key, but with this, it'll be fine. So instead of hitting it with a devil float, which is an absolute pain in the backside, because this product doesn't like being floated up very well, it sticks to it, I'm going to trowel it instead. So any big high spots, I'm just going to wet it a little bit like this, and I'm just going to knock all the high spots off it. Now, it doesn't have to be beautiful, because we're going to be skimming over it. All I'm doing is making it so when I skim it, it's easier. So if we get the odd little hollow or high spot, we just take it down. I'm literally just troweling it up as if it's finished. I'm not going to spend forever trying to get it perfect, like it's going to get painted. I'm just taking the high spots out, just so that when I skim, my finish goes over it nice and easy. Bit of water, just for lubrication, and away you go. The other little hollow, fill them out. Will be down the street. Now, you can't do this with sand and cement. So if you're floating with sand and cement, obviously you wouldn't put sand and cement on a plasterboard anyway, but if you're floating on a wall, you can't use this process of sand and cement because the sand and cement sets from the front to the back. If you hit it with a trowel and try smoothing it out, it's going to slide on the wall. And as we already know, you need a key in sand and cement, whereas you don't with bonding. The finishing plaster will stick. So, I know there's going to be a load of beginners in the comments that have learned one way, and this might not be the textbook way. I'm telling you, this way works, and it's a lot easier and more efficient than floating it. This will leave you no problems as long as it's going off. Don't try and do this when it's wet, but when you poke it and it's sitting, then this is an ideal way of doing the job. See things like this is the reason. See this big bump here? Yeah. We're just taking that off. It's only, you can get it nice and neat with the Darby. You can get it as neat as possible. But just for any last little sort of bits, you're just going to give it a little fly over. Just so it's a pleasure to skim. Now, I'm going to leave that now for another 5-10 minutes, just till we start seeing some dark patches coming on it. There's none yet. As soon as we start seeing it going dark, I'll skim on it straight away. And well, you'll see that in a second. Now, I know there's fellas out there going, no, it needs the devil float, it needs a key, it won't stick. Trust me, 20 years I've been doing it this way, it sticks, it's fine. And I'll tell you a crazy thing as well. Flip a bag of bonding over and read what British Gypsum tell you to do with the stuff. They actually tell you to do it my way. Now, I'm not saying that, British Gypsum have been watching what I'm doing and going, oh, his way's better than what we, originally said. I don't know if they ever originally said to hit it the devil float. It's just that I know there's tons of fellas out there that love to devil float it. But I never do it. You don't need to do it. And actually, British Gypsum tell you to do it my way. So there you go. Okay, don't start squawking in the comments. Okay, zip it. Nearly ready to skim. Just showing you before we start skimming. That's it now. There's no gaps in the middle. It's ready to go. Okay, nice and flat. That's what we're aiming for. Right, we see now, starting to go dark in patches. As soon as it starts to go dark, that's when I like to skim it. You can skim it a little bit sooner than that, like before when we were just smoothing it off with the trowel. You could start then, but I always seem to find when I do it too early, I get a little bit of bubbles. I like to do it when it just starts to go dark now. I don't like to leave it too long, because the longer you leave it, it starts getting more and more suction on it. So, if you sort of leave it for about 4 or 5 hours, it potentially starts sucking a little bit more. And obviously, if it was the next day, then you've got to seal it again. So, sorry for all those that have heard all this before, but I've got to sort of keep an account that people might be watching me for the first time. So, we're just going over things a little bit now and then. We could actually have a spot board on this job, wouldn't we? To be fair. But with the last couple of jobs, we've just got used to taking it on the bucket, haven't we? So there's no spot board. And Kieran won't feel like going in the van and getting one because he's got his happy head on, haven't you, mate? Yeah. Kieran's got his happy head on today. Didn't have any research this morning. Right, that'll do. You've seen me skim loads of times before, so you know what's going to happen. We'll just cut to the end in a minute. So I like it when I'm getting stuff out of the bucket and Kieran just keeps the camera there, just in case he wanted to just look at a ceiling whilst I wasn't there for a little bit. See, I thought that's me done that way. I didn't just come straight into it. I haven't just gone like that up to the bead. I've come along it so that it's not curled out to it. What was it the king said? A little less conversation, a little more action, please. Now, if you're looking round and you can see the chases in the walls and you're thinking, they should be filled first. Yes, I agree. And also, this ain't right, something's definitely done different here. But here's the thing, I'm only down for skimming the ceiling. The kitchen company are doing the walls. They're going to do all the chases, and they've specifically said, ask your plasterer not to interfere with anything. So, I'm not allowed to touch nothing else. Otherwise, I would have filled all the walls up first before I started skimming. But as it stands, in the real world, sometimes you're just not allowed to touch stuff. The kitchen company determined they're doing all the prep work and everything, the price of it, so I'm not involved in that. Only the ceiling, that's it, they're not down for the ceiling, so. It suits me because it's Sunday, I don't want to be here all day anyway. So there's the young and having a go as well. He's getting half the ceiling for him to have a little mess around on. Now what I would recommend you do, Key, is just before you go across that scrim there, it's starting to lift up here. See the scrim showing through the stuff, see? And what will happen is if you keep going into it, it'll do that and you'll end up pulling it off. So flatten it in with your trowel and then put a band of finish across it that way first. You know, that's it. And go right away to the end of the scrim. Go right away to the end and pull over to that like light switch. That light, you know what I'm trying to say? That flipping wire, go up to there. Get me merds waddled. Right? And now when you pull back from the ceiling line, you won't clip that scrim and pull it off. I know they're self-adhesive, but they only put the minimum amount of glue on them. They don't exactly stay stuck, you know, if you hit them. Try and stay methodical, you know. If you're coming back from the wall, just keep going like that and try and reach all the way back to the bead and try and do, I mean, try and do. There's about 50 things I want you to try and do all at once, but fill your bead out first, fill your scrims out, and then bring it back from the wall curve. So fill your bead out first. Yeah. Don't be chewing on the end of that cable, mate. You'll know about it. That's it. Right, now, any stuff that's dripping off the edge of the bead, cut it off with the toe of your trowel before it goes firm. Up the edge here. Take your trowel like that. Just give it a little. Yeah. Wonderful, right? And then pull it in from your ceiling line. Remember how I do it, a little inch away, and then take a bit and go in, nice and neat. That's a bit nice and neat. That was, you were close. Ooh, I'm in a bit of a dangerous position here, aren't I? Oh, yeah. That's it. He's making a lovely little mess with himself. Good. Kieran does all the cleaning, so he can make as much mess as he wants. Like it, I don't mind too much. But there's no floor covering down here, so we'll just give this a scrape at the end. I mean, this is Kieran's off. Then mine off, and don't forget I floated the ceiling as well. But I've still dropped a little bit, so you're not doing too bad, mate. You're not doing too bad. You look like a seagull's had you. You look like a seagull's had you. He's got the speed skim out. We might have a little play with that as well. We don't need to, but we've only got this little ceiling to do, so we've got to make it interesting, haven't you? What does it feel? Does it feel natural? Or does it feel awkward, Key?
Natural.
Feels natural, does it? Because it looks awkward watching you. Don't wind him up, he's not in the mood today. He's had a late night last night, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was you up to last night, Kieran?
Moving the hip.
He was out with all sorts of strange women last night. Right? Now it's a bit of a thing now, because at one time I would have thought that was quite good, but now I've got daughters, now I'm starting to think otherwise, so. But you know, some of the girls nowadays, they're worse than the lads, aren't they? I mean, as long as you don't come home pregnant, Kieran, I don't mind. That can happen these days, mate. That can happen these days. In heck. There's no such thing as men and women no more. Everyone's all mingling into one, aren't they? Oh, right, it's a family show. Let's not talk about this. It's good, this, really. It's good for you to see Kieran doing this, because you can watch me and learn how to do it, and then you can sort of watch Kieran and learn how to not do it. I think, you know, to be fair, he does really well. I mean, considering he's never... How many ceilings have you skimmed, Kieran? Is this your second ceiling?
Second.
This is the second time he's ever had to go at plastering a ceiling. I mean, I'm quite impressed, to be fair, and I'm not saying that, you know, to tickle your ego, Kieran. I do think you're doing a lovely job of it, you know. You're not cut. I mean, I remember when I first started doing ceilings, I was covered in it.
Getting used to that shoulder pains, don't we?
Yeah, is your shoulder aching? See, I don't even think about that no more. It's like muscle memory. I can literally skim ceilings all day and not feel a thing. I tell you what's weird. Ceilings all day, not a problem. Walls all day, not a problem. Give me a 45-degree slope like in an attic. And because I'm not used to doing them, you know, because you're not doing them day in, day out, oh, my arm feels like it's going to drop off. I mean, you're not too bad. You've got a good set of shoulders on you, haven't you, to be fair? Right? More meat on a butcher's pencil.
Yeah.
More meat on a butcher's pencil. It's only banter. It's only banter, isn't it, Kieran? We've got to have a laugh in work, haven't we, mate?
Yeah.
Right. And listen, for the record as well, Kieran takes the mick out of me just as much. I normally go home crying, don't I, mate? Yeah. Does some mean little jokes on me sometimes. Mixes up with dirty water without telling me and stuff, don't you? Right. Or doesn't tell me how many bags I've used. Keeps telling me it's less. You've only put 2 bags on, you've only put 2 bags on. So I just keep going. And next minute, I'm flipping running around like a lunatic because we've got too much on. I don't like to work too fast these days. Just plodding on's nice. I don't want to be the fastest plasterer in the world. I just want to be the richest. Scrim's lifting up. Okay, it happens. That's when you haven't bedded them down, they just kick up, you see. So I always try and put a little coat over them first. Oh, he's going with the backhand this time. Did you see that? See the scrim now, it's kicked up again. Show them where it is there. Watch now, if that pulls away, it'll come down. Okay, that's it. Now bed it back into your trial so it can't move. Scrape it on and then put more finish over it. That's it. Okay. You're getting them big lines there because it needs building up more. There must be a bit of a hollow in the ceiling there, so you've got to put it on a bit thicker and get rid of them big lines. Okay, if you're leaving lines with your trowel, it's where there's a hollow. Come on, camera, focus. Now this isn't too bad. But what I would do is, I wouldn't leave that and second coat it like that. Now, when you get quite neat, and it's sort of laid on like that, you know, with no big lines, and you don't really have to smooth it out between coats. But when it's like this, when you're just sort of getting started, you know, you might want to consider just flattening it in between trials, because if this starts to pick up, see this big line here, if that picks up and your second coat, that'll be sticking through your second coat and that'll cause you a few little issues. So just flatten this in before your second coat. I got all the exciting bit up there as well. There's a little curve in that. We didn't do the boarding on this job, did we, Kieran? It was like this when we turned up. The builder's done this. We've just turned up to level this part of the ceiling out here and skim it, just the ceiling, not the walls. That's it. Just a little polish now. We're done. That's lovely and flat. That is just a little introduction to floating. There'll be more videos, more in depth, you know, how to form screeds, how to float walls, sand and snow, floating, all different things, you know, dot and screed and floating, all sorts. Anyway, we've got to start off with the basic stuff and build on it. So that was the first sort of little introduction for you. Now, I hope you enjoyed that video and you picked up a few little tips from me there. Maybe learned something. If you've got any questions, then feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer you. One thing I didn't mention is you can't really use a speed skim when it comes to floating. It's got to really be a Darby or a feather edge rule, okay? Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned something from it. Give us a little thumbs up if you like that video. If you got something from it and you appreciate all the work that goes into making these videos, because they don't take 10 minutes to put together, and if you appreciate that I'm trying, genuinely I am trying my best to give you all the information that's in here, I'm trying to give it to you. And if you appreciate that and you'd like to buy me a little pint, then there's a link in the description. You can just literally open the description and click on the little link and buy me a beer. It's much appreciated, but there's no obligation. Guys, I genuinely hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for the beer if you buy me one. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, then I don't know why not. The amount of people that watch my videos and don't subscribe is I mean, you don't have to subscribe. It's up to you. You just might never see me again. That might be a good thing. Hey, either way. Cheers, guys. Adios.